What is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Fenixx, and this is going to be your weekend forecast for June the 3rd and the 4th of 2023. It is the full moon in Sagittarius, y'all. Full moon in Sagittarius. So it's definitely going to be a pretty intense weekend with all of these energies happening with this full moon, with Venus opposition to Pluto building over the weekend. And with Mercury coming on top of Uranus, it'll make that switch and finally move past Uranus. Definitely going to be a weekend or to remember. Definitely going to be a pretty intense weekend. So let's go ahead and hop into it, shall we? So we begin the day, of course, with that moon in that first decan of Sagittarius at 3 degrees. And right off the bat, we get the quincunx over to the North Node and Jupiter, right? So, of course, what I call the quincunx, the awkward stare from across the room, right? And it being at 3 degrees is interesting too, because here's the funny thing: we're going to have some mutual reception here. The moon would rather be where Jupiter is in Taurus, right? Jupiter would rather be where the moon is in Sagittarius. So there's definitely some mutual reception here. Not only that, but 3 degrees, 3 is the number of Jupiter. It is the number of Sagittarius. So we're definitely going to have this sort of quality where we are definitely wanting to have the vision. We're wanting to move forward. We're wanting to have the adventure, right? We're wanting to explore these different realms, go on the journey, right? Take aim, and actually like take aim on our mark and go for it, focusing on our target, right? The only thing too is that, of course, this energy is being stressed by a lot of different things that are going on, like I said. So even though the moon is here and the moon is Sagittarius, is always looking for some sort of positive energy. It's a very optimistic energy typically whenever you see the moon in Sagittarius. So we can begin the day, wanting to look for some positivity, wanting to be optimistic about the future and our vision and moving things forward. The only thing is that because it's Jupiter on the North Node in Taurus, that future and stuff like that, we're realizing this is something that has to be built. It's not something that's going to be automatic. It's not something that's just it's not something that you can just simply order on Amazon and it comes to your house with the Amazon Prime delivery in like 2 days or something like that. It's something that needs to be built. And even when that thing arrives, you realize that you have to build it. You have to put it together. And the other thing about this is like the quick. If we're wanting automatic quick energy, we got to realize that the automatic quick energy is not. It's going to be slowed down. It's not going to come exactly the way that we want to. You can't just simply order this on Amazon. It's not going to be a 2 day shipping. It might be delayed, right? So there could be delays here. Not only that, but when you finally get the package and you're wanting to assemble this thing, there's no words. It's all pictures, So that's the sort of energy that we're being given right now by the universe, is that in whatever it is that we are wanting to build, whatever vision that we have right now for our life and what we want to manifest, we absolutely can have it. But it is going to require getting our hands in the dirt and actually building it. It's not something that's just going to happen overnight, right? So, like I said, that moon is making that aspect just to start the day. And as you can see, we have Mars coming off of the from the quincunx over to Saturn as well. It'll move to 8 degrees. And as we move this forward, we're going to see the moon come into a nice well, first, actually, before it even comes into that, we're going to see the moon make this square over to Saturn. So another not exactly easy energy to deal with. Whereas before, with that quincunx over to the other energy, we're definitely looking for the vision. It just might look weird and it's not going to appear the way that we want it to look. Now we get the square over to Saturn and Pisces. And once again, we have the 7 energy. And like I was saying yesterday, 7 is the number of Pisces. It's the number of Neptune, right? Saturn is in Neptune's house. So the moon, once again, wanting to be positive, wanting to move things forward, wanting to believe in the dream. That's another thing too, is that there's this whole sort of belief in the dream, but you have that squaring energy to Saturn. What is Saturn saying though here? It was like, if you want to make that dream a reality, you got to make sure that you make your bed first. You got to make sure that you brush your teeth first. You got to make sure that you wash your face first. These are like the basic things. And when it comes to this Piscean energy, right? So this squaring energy is going to offer this sort of challenge where we're going to be like, man, can I really like have that dream? Do I really believe in that thing? Do I really believe that I can have the life that I want? Saturn is going to be challenging this energy. Now, at the same time that this is happening, you're going to have the moon, which is going to be trining over to Mars. It's going to be at 8 degrees. So it comes down to deciding. It comes down to the decision because 8, when it comes to that energy in numerology, that is ruled by Saturn. So can we actually, so Saturn, while it's going to be challenging our vision in many ways, because it's going to be asking us to have our ducks in a row when it comes to this Piscean energy. Now, mind you, Saturn is slow. This is the degree that it's going to retrograde at. So it's not exactly moving things really forward too fast. In fact, it's about to get to the point where it's stopped taking phone calls because Saturn in Pisces wants to be on sort of like a vacation, if you will, kind of wants to be on a vacation, if you will, but Saturn is still taking calls, right? Saturn is still taking calls on like, okay, yeah, you got to do this, and then you got to do this, and then you got to do this. So Saturn, it's slowing down. Saturn right now, that's the funny thing about it is that because Saturn is slowed down, it's not taking as many calls. Saturn's actually ignoring some calls. So that's the other thing too, where we're looking for some sort of structure in our life. And the universe is like, I've already given you all the answers. I've already given you all the tools. So it's like while we're looking for like a step-by-step guide on how to get through this thing, the universe is like, I've already given this to you. Have you gone back and looked at that tool? Have you gone back and looked at that thing that I've given to you? What about that person I brought into your life? So it's really going to come down to the decision and just deciding like, you know what? Things may look a little awkward right now. I may not necessarily have the full scope of things, the full picture of things, especially mentally. Yes, Mercury is out of shadow. Yes, it's moving forward, but it also is heading for Uranus. There is some uncertainty here because Uranus is all about the sort of randomness of life and uncertainty. So when it comes to that energy, when it comes to our value, we are in many ways trying to figure out, like, what exactly is going on here? Yeah, Jupiter is here. It's wanting to bring some positivity when it comes to our self-worth and our value, right? But this whole Mercury conjuncting over to Uranus thing, it's this sort of aha moment when it comes to our value. And we're probably going to see something pop off this weekend as far as like the external world. But this trine over to Mars, it's a positive one. It definitely is, even though Mars is wanting to really move things forward. And it's been stressed by several energies, coming off of, the big T square to the nodes and stuff like that. There's this element of like actually like realizing, hey, I actually can move this thing forward. I actually really can act on my passions. I can really, come into my heart space and really act on that. It's a very passionate energy too. But potentially, if we don't really check ourselves emotionally and realize that while, yes, our emotions are a guidance system for us, they're there to signal to us where we are and how to move forward. But if we get too caught up in that space, if we get too caught up in our emotions, then we can find ourselves being stuck and not actually processing things as they come through. And there's a potential for suppression energy. The universe is asking us to release. That's what a full moon does. It's asking us to release things right now. But if we're not careful and we're really too caught up in our emotions, we could find ourselves suppressing even further, despite the fact that the universe is wanting us to release right now. Especially when it comes to things, especially when it comes to sort of like this, like I said, this Gemini energy, right? Sun in Gemini has been there by itself for like this whole time. So it's been almost 2 weeks, and the Sun has just been here by itself, and it will continue to be by itself here for another week. So we still had this unadulterated Gemini energy for another whole week. So yeah, like that's the great thing about it. It's like this is allowing us the time to explore. This is allowing us time to be curious and go out there and meet the people, right? That's the great thing about this energy is that's allowing us that time before Mercury comes here, and it's actually going to be home too. So that's going to be the nice thing. So I really think also this is about just simply putting yourself out there, simply expressing yourself. I think it's going to be when Mercury comes into Gemini, to where that's when people are really going to start to notice. It really starts to come into your life a little bit more. They're going to be like, oh, wow, so that person's really shining their light. The Sun in Gemini right now is really all about just shining your light and just expressing your creativity in a way, right? So we have that moon that's going to make that trine over to Mars. Nice aspect, like I said, positive, but it's really going to be up to us. It's like, you know what, we have to get those aspects on the same page as far as like our emotions go, where it is in Sagittarius, and where we wanted to move things forward with the masculine energy and Mars, right? And just deciding is like, you know what, I am going to do that thing. I am going to go forward. Just deciding, if I'm hearing with this sort of energy too, potential anxiety. And it's funny too, I felt this energy like last night. I got home, I was like watching the moon as I was driving home from work, and it was beautiful. It's like the moon, it was like it was one of my some of my favorite nights is when it's like cloudy at night and then the moon is illuminated and you can see all the clouds and stuff, and it's going in and out of the clouds, and I was mesmerized by it. And I'm not gonna lie, when I got home too, I actually had a bit of a headache too. And I think it's really because I'm a Sagittarius rising. So, that first house rules the head. And since the moon is becoming full and that's where it's going to be, and the moon's pulling on the water, I felt like that's what I was feeling a lot of pressure in my head, which was causing some anxiety. I took my water soluble tincture, CBD tincture, and then I eventually just knocked out and fell asleep. And now it's 4:31 a.m. and here I am making this video. That's the other thing too about this is the whole timing aspects, right? Time right now is warped. If you're wondering why your sleep schedule is all weird, it's because the ruler of time, Saturn, is in Pisces. Time is warped right now. So if you don't have like a sense of time right now, if even more so than usual, if your days are getting mixed up, that is perfectly okay. That makes all the sense in the world. And don't be holding yourself to things looking a certain way, right? I've never made a video at 4:32 a.m., but here I am doing it. Sometimes we get beholden to a certain schedule or to a way that we think things are, but the universe has different plans. Sometimes it's best to do things at the most random times, right? So, or what we would see as random, but really it's actually in line. And I think that's the thing that's going on. Some of you guys, your true like circadian rhythm too. I think that's the other thing too with Saturn and Pisces is that it is adjusting people's circadian rhythm because it's throwing things off right now too. But you can actually find what is like your natural rhythm during this time. So there are some people that are more nocturnal. There are some people where their day starts at freaking 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? And they might do their best work during that time. We live in a society, especially here in the Western world, where it's like you wake up in the morning, it's like 9 to 5, and then you go to sleep, and everyone's on that same vibration. But you got to understand too, especially when it comes to creative energy, especially when it comes to that sort of stuff, there's a reason why people write and do or draw or do whatever during the hours of the night or the hours of the day when there's not a lot of things going on. There's not a lot of energy, right? It's a little more quiet. You're able to actually tap more into spirit that way too. That's why sometimes it's best to wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning before the world around you wakes up, because not everyone's still in that dream state, whereas you can access all of this energy and it's a little bit more clear. You can get those downloads from the universe. Some of you guys are fighting that energy because it has to look a certain way, and you don't have to fight that energy. So now we'll go ahead and move this forward to the moment of the full moon, right? So bam, we had that full moon. It's going to be here at 13 degrees of Sagittarius, right? Sun in Gemini. And as you can see now, we have Mercury at 19 degrees. We have Mercury at 19 degrees of Taurus, coming closer and closer to that conjunction point with Uranus. Jupiter having moved to 4 degrees of Taurus as well. So that's the other cool thing. We have a nice little harmonic energy. 1 plus 3 equals 4. And then we have the 4 energy as well. I'm telling you, everything is coming back to that Jupiter and Taurus. Everything's coming back to this Taurus energy and this North Node on top of it. So once again here, moon illuminated by the sun. What do we want? We want some edge. We want some adventure. We want the journey. We want the knowledge. We want the wisdom, right? This is going to be a time where the universe is exposing a lot of this. So, there are going to be some know-it-alls that get exposed during this time, right? I want to actually show you the Sabian symbols for 13 degrees of Gemini as well as 13 degrees of Sagittarius. I want to show you guys that. So let me do that real fast. And then I'm going to, let's see. How does let's see. I wonder how it'll let me do this. All right. So here is Gemini 13 degrees. This is where the sun is. World famous pianist giving a concert performance. The symbol speaks on the need to be able to show one's talents, skills, or unique abilities to others, whether it is a performance or just being oneself. In the situation facing you, it is not always enough to know that you are highly skilled or have others say how wonderful you are. The proof is expressing those skills in the real world and creating something as a result. The performance should spring from a love of what one is doing, whether it is music, performing, speaking, or some other form of expression. True rewards come from being well rehearsed and prepared to share your talent with others, as well as acknowledging the talents of others. Smugness versus talent, a validation of social standing, hands-on creativity, singing, music, playing out front or in the band, having an adore in public, repertoires, practice, putting in the hours, relying on past success, not putting in the day-to-day work, the need for applause and acclaim to validate one's existence, inflated egos demanding attention. That's sort of like the darker side of this, That's sort of the darker side of this. So that's the thing. If we're not putting in the day-to-day work, but we are still needing applause and acclaim from people to validate ourselves. And if our sense of self-worth and self-value doesn't come from within, it doesn't come from, this is practice. Remember, no one's going to be looking at this. The only energy that sees the day-to-day work, right, is you and the universe. But it's putting in those day-to-day hours, the hours that no one sees. Those are the most important. This full moon in Sagittarius is going to reveal to us the people that have been putting in the work. It's also going to be revealing to us the people that may be putting in a little bit of work, but they care so much more about the adoration from others, right? Know-it-all energy. Know-it-alls are going to be exposed during this time, So like I said, there's need for applause to validate one's existence. So you got to ask yourself so whatever it is that you're doing, stuff like that, whatever passion that you have, whatever you're wanting to express, do you need the applause and adoration from other people to validate you doing that thing? Or will you do it automatically, regardless of anyone is seeing or not? Take, for example, right? I've been exercising more lately. I go to the gym at least 3 to 4 times a week, right? I know a lot of people post about their weight loss journeys and stuff like that, and I probably will talk about mine, at least as far as like how it's helping with anxiety and how I'm taking personal responsibility on my podcast. But at the same time, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for me because I know that, as I've been doing this, I can feel myself getting stronger, and I can feel myself, overcoming the resistance, because sometimes I just simply don't want to. There are times where I'm like, I can't believe I actually was able to get that thing. And it's funny too, because at the gym, there's a bunch of people there, but everyone's in their own world. It's such an interesting thing. The gym is such an interesting thing. It's very, in many ways, it's very Leo and Aquarius, right? It's like, it's all about you in many ways, but at the same time, you're in a room with a bunch of people, but you're detached, right? You're in your own world. You got your own music playing and stuff like that. God forbid you forget your headphones, and then you're like in like this very weird space where everyone's around you listening to their own music. Yeah, like the weird gym music that you're listening to, and you're just like it could throw off your whole vibration and stuff too. But that's the thing about this. This is about putting in the day-to-day hard work, you know. Now let's look at Sagittarius. This one's going to be an interesting one. I have to click on 12 to get to it. And then let's see. And then let's see. All right. So Sagittarius, 13 degrees. A widow's past is brought to light. This symbol implies revealing issues, secrets, or problems from the past so they can be dealt with. There are issues which will be brought to light. Perhaps your past catches up with you, or people in your family or a circle of friends have stories, histories, deeds, acts, or personalities that need to be handled with care and tact. There's often a healing as things have been kept closeted, lose some of their charge when they come into the light of day. Although you or others may be in a reasonably sympathetic position in the eyes of others, some may not like what is revealed. Bringing issues to light where they can be healed, forgiven, and hopefully forgotten, unveiling and exposing. New, vibrant beginnings. New, vibrant beginnings. Yesterday's darkness. Looking back to revision attitudes, being free for new opportunities, counselors, grief, failed relationships. Old stories best forgotten, rehashed stories. Someone being caught out, gossip and family secrets, that's shame, bearing the weight of secrets of shame. When I read this, I was like, okay, wow, that's interesting. The widow's past is being brought to light. You know, who was it that was at fault? I mean, with the whole, I mean, the widow thing. This is someone whose significant other has passed away or something like that, right? So we're going to, this is where you learn things about. I was like, wow, I didn't know that those were those aspects of that relationship. And I think that's why they have the whole family thing here. We got to remember too, Venus is in Cancer right now. Now, mind you, it's coming back in bounds this weekend, which is nice, but it's coming into the opposition with Pluto and Aquarius. And we're not going to see this energy again, ever again. We're not going to see this ever again. So not when it's not, at least not for like the rest of this year. We're going to see it come. It's going to be at like 0 degrees, which is a very unadulterated, it's like the pure energy of those respective signs. And then we're not going to see this again because then Pluto is going to come back into Capricorn. Venus will go up to 28 degrees of Leo, then retrograde back. So we're not going to see this, but these are things that are being brought to light as well. Maybe some family drama, maybe some leak over from last weekend, because I mentioned something about last weekend there being potential family drama, but this is the deeper stuff. Last week was the surface level stuff. Now we're actually getting into the closet. And the one thing I thought that was interesting about this too was this line right here. There is often a healing as things that have been kept closeted lose some of their charge when they come into the light of day. That right there is super important, because I think what's happening is that the reason why some people may keep things in the dark, the reason why some things might be kept in the dark is because since there's this mysteriousness to them, and it garners a sort of attention and it has like this charge. But when things actually come out to the light and you look at it, it's like, you're like, oh, that's what it actually is. It's like, oh, I mean, and the thing is too, is that based off of the way that we actually perceive it, we can be like, oh, that's not really that big of a deal. Or it's like, oh, I guess they're not really about that life. You know what I mean? And then that's where the whole like clamoring for adoration, clamoring for attention, clamoring for this need of acceptance from other people, that's where this could come from. Venus will be in Leo, which is not, Venus in Leo is a very interesting energy. It doesn't really like to be in Leo, despite the fact that it's an energy that a lot of people like because it's very passionate and stuff like that too. But when it comes into the opposition with Pluto, it's like the moment that Venus comes on side, like it's on side, like say like in soccer, like actually gets the ball passed to it and it's on side. And Venus and Leo definitely wants to be more of a striker energy. Then you got your goalkeeper, which is Pluto and Aquarius. good luck. Like, good luck trying to get past that goalkeeper. That's the thing. So there's going to be this loss in the charge when things come to light. It's like, oh, it's like even then you might find yourself realizing that you may be putting your energy into places, people, and things that you're like, wow, this really isn't as worth it as I thought it was. So there's a level, like it's just that's the other funny thing about this is that although you or others may be in a reasonably sympathetic position in the eyes of others, some may not like what is revealed. So that's the thing too. I think it's sort of like whenever these things do come to light, I think we definitely can have sympathy here, and I think it's better to be sympathetic than empathetic. Because I think empathy is great. I mean, I'm an empath, so a lot of times I just automatically absorb people's emotions. It is important to be sympathetic when these things come to light because whatever is being revealed, it's sort of like this revelation of like, okay, that person, you know, they obviously there's some things missing there. They probably need some help and they're not realizing it. Their egos are inflated, or the situation is inflated, and maybe it's not as big of a deal as I'm making out to be. I can forgive that aspect. I can move on, and it can be a no hard feelings kind of deal. So let me get back to the other charts and stuff too. This one, the video is gonna be a little bit longer because it is a full moon, so there's a lot more energy involved here, so bear with me, guys. I know my videos can tend to go a little long, anyways, right? So we're gonna have that energy with that opposition, of course. That's going to be happening late at night too on Saturday. So, and it's funny too because we have also that safety symbol with Sun and Gemini talking about all this music and stuff like that. So this could be a great opportunity for you to listen to some music. Maybe going back and listening to something that you listened to as a child. You know what I mean? Kind of go back to some music that you listened to when you were a teenager and kind of like bring some and actually kind of bring some of that teenage angst back up to the surface and kind of shine a light on it and then kind of realize, oh wow, it's like I was tripping out about that thing. It's like it really wasn't that big of a deal. And kind of pull some of your energy back from that space. Shoot, you know, I might actually do this. Writing a letter to our teenage self. If you happen to be a teenager watching this, you can just write a letter to yourself, and or you can just go back and write a letter to just your younger self. But shoot, writing a letter to our teenage self, or like looking at a picture of yourself when you're in like middle school, high school, or something like that, and just like accept that person for who they are, because it was an awkward time. And I think that's what's happening here too, is that it's a very awkward kind of energy as well. It's funny too, because I've even been thinking about this in general myself lately. When it comes to humanity as a whole, I feel like humanity as a whole is in the adolescent phase. You know what I mean? Even though humanity has been around for however long, and of course people debate about like how long we've been around for, but I feel like overall we are in a sort of adolescent phase. That's why things are awkward. That's why there's this sort of exaggeration by some people to like really stand out and be like the popular ones, whatever. That's just where I feel like we are in general. So that's just what I've been channeling. I've had that thought for like the last several years, stuff like that. So let me know what you guys feel about that, if that even really means much to you guys. But anyways, we'll move things forward, right? We're going to come into now the moon. Bam. You see that? The moment that the moon comes to 18 degrees, it makes the trine over to Chiron. We have Mercury coming to 20 degrees, 0 minutes of Taurus. And then that conjunction happens. We have Venus. Look at how close that orb is. That orb is what? It is so freaking close, right? So once again, we have like a nice harmonious aspect, and we have a sort of aha moment. This is why I'm mentioning the whole, like, it might be a good idea to kind of commune with your teenage self and just kind of forgive yourself for any of the awkwardness that might have been there. Kind of like forgive yourself. It's like, oh wow, I can't believe I did those things. You can honestly have a good laugh about this sort of stuff too. But yeah, we have this energy right here, bam, with that nice little trine over to Chiron. Chiron being that wounded healer. Now, we're not going to feel this energy too much. It's not the most prevalent energy over the weekend, especially just coming off of the full moon in general. But the moon at this point will still be mostly illuminated. So people's wounds are definitely going to be revealed at this time. And there's an opportunity to really heal this aspect. But it's going to come, no one's going to do the work for you, too. That's the thing. So there's going to be this desire, I think, for a lot of people to have their wounds licked by other people, but it's really not. It's really going to have to come from within, unless you have been putting in the work and your influence is that's mostly that is a net positive. I think if your vibration and your energy is a net positive on the world, and you're going through something, person I'm thinking of is Jamie Foxx, but that's the first person that's coming to mind. Then there's going to be some sort of like, honestly, with Mercury conjuncting Uranus at 20 degrees, and I want to say that isn't Jamie Foxx a Sagittarius? I think he is a Sagittarius. So, uh, so we might actually finally learn what's going on with him this weekend. So that moon trining over to Chiron, the wounded healer. This is definitely where we can learn, we can learn from our wounding, we can learn from our scars. We can learn to be okay with those scars and realize that there's actually power in that space. Shoot, think about it like with Harry Potter, right? He had the freaking lightning bolt on his head, right? And whenever it would burn, he would. That's like him getting like pretty much like a download or a message, or like when the energy around him or like magical energy was like super powerful. So even though it hurt, even though it was like he would do that. It was still a signal, and it was still in many ways like a superpower. So we're going to have that energy. Bam, we have that conjunction. That's going to be, of course, Sunday early in the morning when we have that. And then we're going to have, I mean, there's not really a whole lot like direct aspect wise that's happening on Sunday. It's really just the building and culmination of this energy of this conjunction right here. Mercury on Uranus in Taurus, definitely an aha moment. Definitely an aha moment, I would say, from the universe. So, and then you have Venus entering that last degree of Cancer. So you remember what I was saying? Remember what the Sabian symbol was talking about with family and where things with family come into light? Yeah, that definitely can happen with Venus at the last degree of Cancer opposing Pluto in Aquarius. So there's definitely potential for drama this weekend. But you can rise above the drama too and acknowledge, I think this is also too, because this comes like around everyone. We have to acknowledge where we ourselves may be clamoring for adoration, clamoring for someone to value us. We are looking for that somewhere in our life. Instead, there are other areas of our life where we are getting that validation, and it's natural because we are expressing ourselves when we are in the vortex of what we love, right? And it's just more of a natural thing. But I think we're all kind of we're all caught between two different worlds. We're caught between the world where we want the attention, we want the adoration, we want to be validated over here, and we actually are getting validated over here, but we're not actually like putting our all into that space. So we have to make that decision on where we are really going to put our energy into, and because we all want to be accepted, right? But it's about what's going to be natural and where in life you're going to see that net positive, right? Where it is that you actually are really going to change the world. I say the thing about Sagittarius energy. Sagittarius wants to change the world. It wants to be the one. It's sort of like it's like this hero kind of energy. It's like the hero's journey in many ways, right? So, yeah, the moon is going to make a nice little trine over, or no, not trine, excuse me. It's going to make a nice little square over to Neptune come the end of the day. The energy is going to be building up. You're going to see that Mercury has moved past Uranus and it is heading towards Gemini. It is so excited to get to Gemini as fast as it can. We have that moon squaring over to Neptune. So once again, like I said, the moon moves fast, right? So it's going, these energies, you feel them for like, and if you're empathic, you might feel it a little bit beforehand, but you feel it for like the few hours leading up to it. You feel it then you feel it by the few hours afterwards, like the waning energy. So that square over to Neptune, once again, pay attention to your dreams on Sunday and going into Monday, right? So I think really what is going to be happening is that, since we're going to be Monday's the next day, people are going to go back to work the next day. The reality sets in Sunday night that you have to go back to work. And you have to ask yourself too, and I understand that everyone has their own situations, what about that and stuff like that too, right? It may not necessarily be as easy, say if you don't like your job, to just up and quit because maybe you have responsibilities, maybe you have a family, you have a house, you have a mortgage, you have car notes, you have all this sort of stuff. But the reality kind of will set in. It's like, you know what? You will kind of go back to our life on Monday. We're going to come even closer into this opposition, which we'll talk more about on Monday and the significance of that. That squaring energy is asking us, well, you're here. What are we going to do about this energy, though? Especially as it moves into Capricorn and things are going to kind of get real, too. Things are going to definitely become more solid when it comes to that energy. We want to have the adventure. It's like we're getting a glimpse into the future, beloved. And the square of the Neptune is really challenging our vision in many ways, right? So you got to remember too, there's a lot of, and Jupiter is actually going to be, like I said, it's at 4 degrees. So it's moving forward, right? I mean, it's still conjunct the North Node, but it's actually like, now that we've kind of been imbued with the vision from the universe, now we can actually like see about actually becoming a vibrational match for it. That's really what Jupiter at 4 degrees of Taurus is. It's like, now that we have the vision, how do we become a vibrational match to that energy? So this moon in Sagittarius, looking for some positivity, definitely looking for the adventure, looking for a little bit of edge even. But with that square over it, and I think this is on the galactic center point too. So that's another big thing too, right there. I'm pretty sure the galactic center point is around like 26, 27, 28 degrees of Sagittarius. So there's definitely going to be some messages that are going to be otherworldly that are kind of coming from that space, coming from our galactic home, if you will. And that square with the Neptune is like, I'm hearing like our sense of reality in the Matrix is going to be challenged on Sunday night. It was funny too. I was talking to my coworker yesterday, and one thing I asked them, I was like, "Yo, so do you believe that when we go to sleep and then we wake up that you can shift timelines like in your sleep?" He's like, "Yeah, 100%." That's what he said. And because he even told me a story about how he swore he remembered something one way and it was actually another way, sort of like a Mandela effect, but like a personal Mandela effect that was kind of tuned to him. And I'm like, I thought about that. It's like, yeah, what if there are times where we go to sleep and then we wake up and you actually shift timelines in your sleep and everything is like so like almost exact, but there's like something off slightly somewhere else, and it could just like change the course of everything. Like, I think that this might be one of those moments where we shift timelines with Mercury squaring over to Neptune, coming off of full moon in Sagittarius, coming into the opposition with Venus and Pluto, the moon being on the galactic center point. This is definitely a timeline shift, especially with the fact that the moon had already squared over to Saturn in Pisces. Our sense of timing and everything is going to be just way off this weekend. It's going to be way off. The way that we find ourselves in the right groove, if you will, is by trusting ourselves, trusting our intuition, trusting that the universe has given us the tools that we need to succeed. And then we can really move forward and just keep putting one step in front of the other, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, just going like that. I'm even feeling called to talk about anxiety right now. Like some of you guys may be anxious right now in your personal life, or maybe a lot of things in the external world might make you anxious and stuff. sometimes it helps to have something to look forward to, something to aim at. I know for me, and this is going to sound very weird too, but I know that like sometimes, like in the height of my like really bad anxiety, when I dealt with it over like the last 5 years or so, it's gotten a lot better now. I realized that I experience anxiety and I don't have anxiety, and I try to tell myself that all the time. But one of the things that helped me get through it was having something to look forward to. And the thing that I used to look forward to was the new Pokemon game that was coming out, because I'm a huge Pokemon nerd. I'm like, you know what? I just want to experience that. And I want to experience that. That'll be fun, right? I love Pokemon. So that was the thing that I used to like look forward to. And you want to do that. So if you find yourself like in a state where it's like, you know, maybe you're anxious, you're worried about the future, the world outside seems crazy and stuff like that, and it's causing some turmoil in your inner world, give yourself something to look forward to. This would be a great weekend if you haven't been to a concert in a while, to look for a concert and schedule that and like buy the tickets. It doesn't have to be a concert that's coming, it could be a concert that's like later on in the year. But do something like that. Find something fun to actually look forward to. And that's what's going to get you through this time. That's what's going to get you through this time. So I know this is a bit of a longer one. So, but it is a full moon. So, it is the full moon. So, full moon videos, new moon videos, eclipse videos are probably going to be a little bit longer. It's crazy. It's 5:01 a.m. and I have to be at work. I have to be at work at 9:45. So I probably can get like a nice little 3-hour nap in or something like that. Oh, so I'm gonna go ahead and draw the card for this. I also have my oracle deck here too. So I have several oracle decks. So this one is gonna be like my sacred geometry oracle deck. So I'm gonna go ahead and figure out what is the card for this full moon in Sagittarius. Full moon in Sagittarius. All right, so for the full moon in Sagittarius, I have the Two of Swords, followed by the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. Bottom of the deck was the High Priestess. Yeah, so caught between worlds. But this is also about trusting your intuition too. The Two of Swords, you don't have to hold yourself back anymore. Believe it or not, this is actually the gate opening, if you will. If you feel like there's some sort of stalemate energy, is like you can't have that thing, is like, no, you actually can have that thing. You see the moon's in this card too, right? And then of course you have that Seven of Pentacles. It was reversed too. I think this is sort of like, I think this is a moment where we're realizing, oh crap, I gotta do the work. You know, he's like just staring at the pile of leaves, right? He's just staring at it. He's like, when is it actually gonna manifest? I've been working, I've been putting in the daily work. When am I actually gonna manifest this thing, right? And then this is like, just you gotta trust your gut. You gotta trust your intuition that this is the path and that you're gonna move things forward. And yes, you may be wanting some sort of adoration, some sort of sign, some sort of validation from the universe, right? I'm gonna draw one more card too, just to see. Yeah, we have the Three of Wands, and it was reversed though. We have the Three of Wands in reverse, and actually below that, I actually have the Lovers card too. So Three of Wands in reverse, yeah. So we are all looking for some sort of new adventure to go on, and I feel like the adventure, we are already on that adventure. It's just simply about recognizing it and recognizing where it is that we're putting our work and effort into. There may be some need to divert. I think that's the main thing I'm getting from this interview right now, is that we may need to alter course a little bit, but with that Lovers card too. So there's going to be some, this is like the Gemini energy too, right? So definitely, I feel like, especially if you're in a relationship right now, this will be a good time to really, shoot, if you haven't been on a date with your significant other in a while, go on a date this weekend. I think that'll be nice. Just get back into that kind of energy. Get back into that creative kind of energy. Let's look at the Let's look at this card. I want to see what the Oracle card's going to be. I haven't used this deck in a long time. I haven't used it in a long time. So, let's see what we have for the Sacred Geometry. I have integration. Integration. The frequency of integration supports our embrace of every aspect of ourselves, allowing what we perceive as positive and what we perceive as negative to harmonize in a balanced symphony of life. Yep, that is what's happening right now. I think the reason why things are coming to light right now, as far as, like I said, that saving symbol that I read earlier, these energies coming to light, where we feel like we may know it all, but we don't actually know it all, where we feel like we may have answers, but we don't necessarily have answers, where we feel like we may be, I'm hearing cringe energy. accept your cringe. Accept your awkwardness. Your cringe and your awkwardness is probably your best gift. I'm not even gonna lie. Where you felt like you were cringy, where you felt like you were awkward, is probably where your gifts lie. And you've been suppressing that aspect of yourself. It is time to actually integrate that, because what you'll find is that is where your true, unique, authentic self is. And when you really express that and really just put your all into that day by day, day by day, day by day, that is how you're going to manifest the life that you really want. So we got to integrate those aspects into ourselves fully. And that's what's happening this weekend. Overall, it can be very positive, challenging, but positive. You gotta remember that when you have like these squares, when you have oppositions, when it comes to the challenging energy, that is where the greatest growth comes from. So, but then that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me on this full moon and Sagittarius weekend astrology forecast for June 3rd through the 4th of 2023. Words are hard sometimes. Anyways, that's going to do it. I love you all so much. Y'all take care. Stay blessed. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all on Monday. Peace out.